welcome to Past, Present, and Future, or Three Questions, the podcast where we learn about people's career journeys, how they got to where they are today, and where they'd like to go to next. I'm Parrots Cohen, a technologist and a wordsmith, and in my time in industry, I've been fortunate to work with both large companies and small startups alongside a number of very talented and hardworking individuals. This podcast is some of my conversations with them, where we learn about their journeys and what motivates them. If you'd like to be in the podcast, please feel free to reach out. You don't have to have a certain level of seniority or a number of years of experience. We all have something to share and learn from each other. If you'd like to sponsor the podcast or get involved in the collaboration, we'd also like to hear from you. All right, looking forward to our journey together as we learn more about each other and enrich ourselves in the process.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the show. Today, I'm very honored to have Liz on the program. Liz is a storied support director in the customer experience industry and a fellow alumni of Bellevue University. So extremely glad and grateful to have her on the program. Welcome, Liz.
Hey, thanks so much. Glad to be here. As I've mentioned earlier, I'm excited to chat and see where the conversation takes us.
So let's dive in. Let's start with the beginning of your career journey. I would love to learn a little bit more about that time in
Ooh,
your
yeah.
career.
That's kind of a fun start. So I happened to graduate with my bachelor's in graphic design and communications, um, right in 2009, which was like big time recession, in the States. And quite frankly, graduating with an arts degree was not something that was wonderful because as I was searching, folks just were not spending money on advertising, on marketing like they had been before I graduated. And so, after looking for design roles for a handful of months, I kind of did this like, I just need a job. I see PayPal has a hiring event. I'll just go check that out. And one of my classmates at Bellevue University that graduated with me, same boat. So we both, all right, we'll just go together. So we went, it was a room full of tables, people sitting at tables, and it was quite literally a like 5 minute conversation. Do you speak English? Can you type? Are you are you willing to have conversations on the phone, sort of a conversation? And yes, yes, yes. Cool, you're a customer support specialist at PayPal now. We expect you to take hundreds of calls every you know day, and we want you to have them be as short as possible. We want you to get people in and get people out, and just do it, and so that's what started me on my journey of becoming now, a leader in the customer support and experience space. Was really well, I need something, and realizing that I am a pretty efficient communicator. I like to think, okay, how can we do this better? How can we make this easier? So I think that's how I've stayed in the track of customer facing roles.
Um, yeah. Were there any, and this is like, and I definitely kind of can relate to that experience. I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
a
It's
that's
really kind of a like it was an oopsie.
no, it's and for me, I think a pivotal inflection moment in my career was kind of joining Snapchat and being in a similar space of here's an amount of tickets you need to answer each day and just kind of diving into that. And it definitely can, it's moments like that that can kind of, yeah, change a trajectory.
Well,
I
and
guess
I will say to just be clear, the the direction that PayPal was in at that point in 2009, 2010 was, we're like the only online payment processor. People don't really know what they're doing when they're paying online. So a lot of the conversations that these frontline support agents that I was hired in as, it was, hey, this payment didn't go through. Why? And you're just having that quick conversation of, well, this is the error message and this is why. And oh, okay, all right, bye. It was quick conversations. So the expectation aligned with what they what they were doing at that point. It wasn't that they were doing anything that was maybe seen as a negative in some circles, but at that point it was get them through, just get them on, get them paid, get them moving. So
Definitely very much kind of being presented. And I think that's something that kind of, as we progress in our career, sometimes it's being provided the end result and kind of continuing to rely on our own intuitions and strategies to get to that point.
right.
As you kind of progress kind of along your career, started kind of rising up the ranks in leadership, what did you kind of continue to notice? Like, what was that kind of, as you worked across a different couple companies over at LinkedIn and others, what was that experience like?
I think throughout my career, I've always tried to step into kind of new, fresh roles, things that are, oh, I've never done that, but I think I can do that. Let's try it. But something moving into more technical support, then shifting into like enterprise level support, then over back to technical and product. It really, I think, something that is the same in all of those areas has been the value that is brought by these roles, by these people, is much higher than anyone seems to realize. And so this thought process of, well, it doesn't take that much skill to answer a question really is something that, as a leader and as someone that's done the job, you have to fight for that acknowledgement of, this is a skill. This is something that if you have good support people, you can change the trajectory of your company. If you have customers' trust, you have automatic renewals. Like it becomes way less effort to get those customers to keep coming back and to talk positively about your company if they know that if they run into an issue, they can call the team because they trust that they know what they're talking about and that they're going to get them taken care of, right? So I think that's the main thing that stands out through my whole career, both as an individual contributor, but also now as a leader, is telling that story and figuring out, and something that I still probably haven't figured out is, how do I quantify that quality, right? How do I give those C-suites a number? How do I show them the data when sometimes it's about the feeling, it's about, how people are talking about you behind your back, right? They're not always going to tell you what they really think in that CSAT or in that NPS, but they are going to maybe talk about the experience they had with your support team in the elevator on the way home. Right. So
I think that's something that I think a lot of functions that don't necessarily deal with those tangible metrics can run into, because it's not just about the output, like how many tickets closed or what is kind of the customer satisfaction level. It's really, what marketing dollars did we not have to spend because we're retaining and not kind of churning our user base, or kind of what is, yeah.
How many phone calls did our customer success team have to jump on? How many sales folks are hearing positive things the minute they get on that phone call? Yeah, just to your point, I think it's those, how do you quantify
How do you map? Yeah. How do you like, if in a world where there was like analytics cookies that would like track someone's phone call to the next conversation
right,
they had?
like
Yeah.
Can we track how many times this person smiled? You know, like it's really hard to do that. And you know, and it's something that I run into and have run into with, you know, as a head of a support group, you know, often working with those C-suite folks, with maybe the chief technology officer, maybe the CEO of, okay, I know you want numbers. I need you to just go into your feelings real quick. Let's walk through a scenario. Tell me how you'd feel, you know, and kind of doing that, like, okay. I know you really love this, but let's think about, like, you have feelings too. And you have to talk to customer support sometimes, you know, and it's interesting how often those conversations, you know, end up with, oh shit, you're right. You know, like, okay, yeah, we probably need to, okay. And that's part of the, I think, fun of where I'm at in my career, is figuring out how to tell those stories. So,
Definitely, storytelling is an important piece and kind of in advocacy, and sometimes some of those like smaller anecdotes can have that outsized impact, especially when it is a conversation at a leadership level.
right.
But this helps kind of transition to my next question.
Yeah.
We have kind of the state of kind of what you've seen and what you've learned along the way, but now we're in a an era of the tooling might not be completely there, but a lot of companies are pushing toward utilizing AI agents, whether for kind of automated outreach or for chatbots.
Mhm.
Um, do you see the strategic and the human element within customer experience when dealing with this new frontline layer of AI tooling?
Yeah, I this is a fun topic, right? I think part of this conversation is, today's our conversation today is going to be completely obsolete tomorrow. You know, it really is. I think AI technology, machine learning is moving at a pace that, like, one day I might feel really confident. I'm like, look at me getting all this stuff done using AI. And then the next day I'm like, what? I don't even know what I'm doing now. And I think that when it comes to customer support, customer service, a lot of people are scared, maybe. I would say scared of AI agents, AI taking the job away. My standpoint is no. I think AI is there to be a tool used by humans to provide better support, right? So using or utilizing AI to um, get customers into your help center where the answers already live, or help those customers maybe use your tool differently by mapping how they're using it and figuring out how to shift your design, how to look at your product differently from a product standpoint versus a customer support needs to handle all of it, right? So from my perspective, I would like to see AI used in that way. Do I think that's how it's happening and how it's going to happen? No. I think that there are many companies that are leaning into AI because they don't want to be behind the curve. And there's this thought process of, well, if we don't get AI rolling in the customer support area, we're just going to look like we don't know what we're doing. When in all actuality, maybe your support team's really functioning well. Like, maybe your support team doesn't need to solve all these problems, you know? And so I think it's, as a support leader that is looking for my next opportunity, I would say that I believe that humans need to be part of the support function at every single company. I can't communicate my frustration to something that doesn't understand frustration, right? Like I want to be able to meet on a human level and say, okay, I'm really frustrated about this. Help me understand how I fix this problem, support agent. And I want them to say, hey, I get it. Like, yeah, this is frustrating. Let's go. I don't want to get more frustrated because it's an AI personality. And I think that we need to be really mindful about that as support leaders and as humans.
So and I think like to that point, because there's the two parts. There's like the tactical, just trying to get an answer, but there's also the connection, the brand moment, the feeling of connection, empathy that a user and a customer is looking for when they reach out to customer support. So in a way, I think our kind of conversation has come full circle, because I think the challenge of implementing AI in a way that is more efficient and useful for a function of support comes down to, does a company properly understand and realize the impact and the function of customer support, as opposed to it being a line item that we can kind of maybe utilize AI to be more effective, or to cost cut, or to kind of to appear in a certain way, without kind of, while maybe missing a little bit of kind of the core function and the core utility of it being beyond just a function of support, but an aspect of brand moments, an aspect of sales, an aspect of really being kind of the frontline interface between the internal kind of development and the user.
Well, and I think my vibe, my style, I'm always trying to kind of figure out, I think I mentioned it earlier, like how can we do this easier? Like I fully believe that nobody should have to like work so hard all day. Like, make things easier, make your life easier. And so it's even thinking about utilizing AI for those efficiency gains to allow your support team to maybe hold heavier issues. Then your tier 2 team can kind of lean more into that engineering space, and all of a sudden your engineers have more time to actually build quality product or actually fix those bugs because they're focused on their job, right? Same goes for product. If you can improve that efficiency utilizing AI, people's time, people's brain space is opened up to actually do more of the reason they're there. So I think that's one, really key piece too is, ooh, instead of thinking about how do we replace these roles, how do we just like take away the annoying stuff, like have AI do the dishes, not paint a picture. That, so
I like that clarity, distinction of utilizing what it's strong for and not kind of trying to overload it, and really kind of allowing the human component to focus on those
right.
higher level tasks and do what I think, like, even if it's a step up above automation, really kind of offloading a lot of those more kind of manual, kind of repetitive tasks.
Right.
This has been a great conversation, kind of
Yeah.
touching on not just customer experience and support, but kind of just the moments in our career and the different kind of ways we think differently about the things that we do over time. Such a pleasure having you on the podcast today. Thank you.
For sure.